Hello and welcome to the Petticoated Swashbuckler. My name is Maren and we are doing, as the lazy tailor said, suit yourself. Okay, that's a bad joke. If you've seen the kind of part 1 video to this, it'll be up here in the YouTube atmosphere somewhere. You'll know that I'm making an outfit for a 1929 domestic servant, and that I am making I'm making a suit basically, because that's what all the advice tells you to, is like, if you're short on money, you need to look professional, on a budget, get a suit. Yes, it will be expensive, but it'll be expensive one time. Whereas if you're just wearing dresses, to avoid looking like you only wear 1 or 2 dresses or own 1 or 2 dresses, you'll have to buy new dresses fairly regularly. While with the suit you can dress it up. You can wear a fancy blouse, you can wear a more kind of dressed down blouse, you can wear the skirt on its own or the jacket on its own, you can wear it as a sort of closed jacket, you can wear the jacket open. You can kind of wear a cardigan, knitted cardigan instead of the jacket. You know, so many more options. Basically, if you have 1 suit and you have 3 or 4 blouses, you have more options than if you only have 2, 3 or 4 dresses. So I have made this skirt. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm now moving on to the jacket. I'm making it out of a fairly simple wool, black wool. So I thought, I do have some satin bias binding that I used for the seams in my skirt and that I will use for the seams in my jacket, that I thought would be fun to add a few kind of details with it. It does have pockets, and those are kind of just stitched on top. That probably has a fancy name that I don't know. They're not, you don't put your hands into any seam to find a pocket, it's just, they're just kind of on top. So I thought it'd be fun to like edge them with bias binding, satin bias binding, to just kind of add a little bit of interest. There are also cuffs to the sleeves, so I thought I'd add a little bit of bias binding to that. But I'm not quite sure about the shape and the fit of this pattern. As you might remember from my last video, I had to adjust the skirts somewhat in a way that's very typical for me. And you know, this is the problem with using patterns instead of drafting your own. And it's the same problem with just kind of buying your clothes in the store, is that most of us are not a kind of standard size. So I tend to have to size up because I have quite big thighs, I have quite big arms, and I'm quite wide in the body, and I'm also quite tall. And the problem is, most patterns are sized up this way, not necessarily that way. So that I can get a pattern that fits my thighs, but it's much too big in my waist and much too short. That's very common for like lower body garments. When it comes to my upper body, I usually get garments that are kind of, they can be quite baggy in the body, but they'll still have sleeves that are too narrow for me. So I'm talking about this now not so you can go in the comment section and be like, oh, but you look beautiful. I'm okay, you know, with my proportions. I know what my body looks like. I'm just saying this to normalize it, you know, because we all have different bodies, and you might be one of those people who've been thinking, wow, there must be something really wrong with me because my body never fits the clothes. And I just want you to know that you are nothing's wrong with you. You are just fine. It's just that clothes are made to standard sizes, and we are none of us really standard. And this is a good thing. This is what makes us interesting. So I know that I'll have to adjust the jacket pattern as well, because I had to adjust the skirt. It was much too short and much too wide in the waist, as predicted. And if I'm going to predict, I would guess that I will have to add volume to the sleeves. I think I'll actually do that before I make the mock-up, because I know I'll have to do that anyway. I have like a sleeve block. Hang on. Okay, so this is the sleeve block. This is a pattern. It's drafted to fit my arm. And what I usually do when I get a pattern is I place this on top. Or I place the pattern on top of this, and if I can see the edges of this around it, and I usually can, I know that I have to widen that sleeve or lengthen it, or both. So I'll probably do that before we make the mock-up. But I also think, I'm not sure. I'll make up the biggest pattern and or the second biggest, and then we'll see. And then I'll adjust the sleeve, and then I'll make it all up, and we'll see. So that's it. Are you ready? Want to come along? Okay. This is my jacket, my mock-up. It has a little pleat under the lapel, and it has a little collar, and it's really nice. I like it. It's really cute. I think, I'm not sure if I'll actually like, it's meant to just be kept like open, which I think, I kind of like that, but I will press down these lapels a little just to kind of, you know, give them a nice shape. I learned from making the skirt that this wool actually presses really nicely, so that's probably going to be like the shape of the lapel. The sleeves that I adjusted a lot, they fit quite nicely now. They are almost a little too big, which is great. They are a little too big at the cuff, so I will actually take them in a little bit, a few centimeters. I like the pocket, very snazzy little pocket right there. There was something very strange happening in the back. I don't know if you can see, but this bit kind of bunched up, very unsightly, and I had no idea why. And I went, I looked in the mirror, I tried like adjusting, taking it in, taking it out, nothing really worked. So I went to my friend Torun, and she looked at me and she said, well, the reason why the neck is funky is because your arm side is pulling. So what she did is she took away quite a bit of the arm side here, and that allowed for the jacket to sit properly instead of being pulled back. So by changing something here, she fixed something up here, which I think is magic, which is why I want to tell you, because it's magic. I love it. I'm fairly happy with this jacket. I think it looks good. It looks very 20s. I don't want it any longer. This is a good length. I think I will add a little split in the back, probably, you know, from like the small of my back and down over my bum, just because I do have a bum. And I think that'll make it fall more nicely in the front as well when it's not pulled back. Yeah, I might put in like a little hook, an eye here, just to make it possible to close this jacket. Maybe. It'd be nice. I think that'd be nice. And then I can have it open and I can just close it a little if I want to. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to take this all apart, make the adjustments to the pattern, and then I'm going to get my bias tape out and repeat the process that I did on the skirt, bias taping all edges. I think I'll actually bias tape like the cuffs and the pocket as well, just to add a little bit of interest, a little bit of shine to the jacket. And then I need to find a way to like make this stay nicely, make the facing stay nicely. I think I'll be okay. I will attach it to the shoulder, and I will attach it to the hem, so it should be okay. Yeah, so that's the next part of the process. I'm so happy with this though. Alright, my camera died on me a little bit, so I didn't get to film anything I've done so far. But what I have done is I've completed the sleeves of my jacket. I have made the cuffs, attached those, just stitched the sleeves up and made some gathering stitches at the top. So these are now, you know, they're done. I'm just waiting for the jacket to be put into. I have also finished binding all the seams, which was a bit of a palaver actually, because when I made the skirt I knew that I could bind all the seams except for what's going on the waist and what's the hem, and then it'd be fine. But here there are some seams, quite a lot of seams, that won't really be seen once even if you turn the jacket inside out, because they'll be covered by facings and that sort of thing. So I had to really kind of keep my head on when I was binding to make sure I didn't bind stupid seams. But I have also I've made binded, that's not a word, I've bound all the seams. By the way, this is called a Hong Kong seam finish, where the seam allowance, the raw edges of the seam allowance are bound with bias tape. I have not learned how to do this. I've just seen pictures and I thought it was pretty. I have no idea if I'm doing this the right way or the wrong way, but in my head it made sense to do the binding before I did the stitching. So if you know better than me, let me know if I've done it wrong, or you know, if I should do it differently next time. I have also made the pockets, and I've actually stitched the pockets onto the front of the jacket. Just a little pocket here. The shiny satin bias tape I've added both to the cuffs and to the pockets to add a little bit of interest in this jacket. So those are done. And on the front I've also gone in and I've stitched the, I'm not sure if you can see, the little dart. That's just, it's basically here. And it's just to account for the curve that I have here and you have here. All people have this curve basically, or at least most people. So to avoid the jacket being either too narrow in the chest or too wide in the shoulders, it's a tiny dart taken out, just a couple of centimeters, just all the difference. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to stitch all the pieces together. Oh, and one more thing I have added that was not in the pattern is the back split. Yeah, so as you can see, this is going to be my little back split. It will just cover, it's a little extra just to cover that kind of, that hem. So yeah, that's my, that's how far I've come. I'm going to stitch it together now. I'm going to stitch the back seam, the underarm seams and the shoulder seams. I'm then going to attach the collar, or the under collar, stitch that together because that's in two pieces, because it's cut on the bias, because you want it to be kind of flexible to be able to move around your neck in a good way. If you're curious about more details of this, I did make some videos about making a coat this winter, so you can go back and watch that. I'll link it somewhere. And then I'm going to add the facing, move that in, do some stitch stitching, and then yeah, let's start there. I have something that looks remarkably like a suit jacket. And it's really, I love it. It's really like casual and loose and flowy and lovely. It's really nice. I have had struggles with this now. Struggled a lot with the collar. Something weird happened when I put the collar on. So that's why, if you can see, I've just basted it down for now, and I've pressed it, and hopefully it'll start behaving soon. I think something weird happened when I bound some seam allowances in the collar area, but not all. I don't know. But apart from that, I'm very happy. The sleeves are in. They are loose and comfortable, and the entire jacket gives a slightly kind of oversized feel to it, but that's very 1920s. I'm very happy with that. I got, you know, my little pockets. Got the little bum split, which I've also just basted down for now. It's not quite done yet because I have some hand sewing left to do. So I need to stitch the lining to the shoulders, or the facing to the shoulder seams up here, and also to the little darts, so the lining stays in place. I need to go in and hand stitch down the hem, which I've just bound and turned over, but it needs a little hand stitching to stay where I want it to stay. And I'm also going to go in with bias tape and hand stitch that to the seam allowance on the sleeves, because that's just too fiddly for me to do on machine, and it's a lot of day outside. There's a concert in my neighbourhood. I want to sit on the veranda and do a little bit of sewing. So that's next up. And then I have to decide whether I want closure on this jacket or not. I think not. I have been planning like a little, you know, like a little hook and eye thing here, but to be honest, I kind of like the fact that it is a little open. Feels casual but smart, right? So, a little hand sewing, and then we are ready to face the world.